at eeservices.com.
Skip and Sharon, hosts of the Psychic Spectrum radio show, are a prominent psychic couple. Besides hosting an exciting weekly radio show, they offer fans the Psychic Showcase and a fascinating speakers bureau. And their Talking to the Other Side events are not to be missed. Join their live events and even schedule a private psychic reading. Get started at psychicspectrum.com. That's psychicspectrum.com.
Hi, this is Lisa Downs, host of Reigniting You, a new show here on KKNW that explores a variety of topics and timely issues for making mid to late career transitions. I'll be here every Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock bringing you guest interviews, career transition advice, and great stories to guide you to what's next in your career and life. Gain a renewed sense of purpose for your next phase with a positive, forward-looking approach. Get ready to be re-energized, recharged, and reignited Wednesdays at 3 o'clock.
I'm Nathan Mumm, and I'm the host of TechTime Radio. TechTime Radio is officially on KKNW from Saturdays from 4 to 5 p.m. You can listen to our show live. We are excited to also then rebroadcast our episodes on Thursday morning from 6 to 7 a.m. The hosts cover top tech stories with a funny spin.
That's good. So,
Hooked on Phonics worked for you, didn't it?
It did, just a little bit.
Grab your weekly technology without having to geek out.
Yeah, I can imagine.
We talk technology for the everyday common person.
Coming to you from the shores of the Pacific Northwest, keeping you up to date on technology while enjoying a little whiskey on the side, with leading-edge topics, along with special guests, to navigate technology in a segmented, stylized radio program. The information that will make you go, Pull up a seat, raise a glass with our hosts as we spend the next hour talking about technology for the common person. Welcome to TechTime Radio with Nathan Mumm.
Welcome to TechTime Radio. I'm Nathan Mumm. The show that makes you go,
Yeah.
Technology news of the week. So we are live streaming right now on Facebook and YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com/TechTime Radio, you can watch us. And if you go to facebook.com/TechTime Radio, you can enjoy the show. And of course, at 11:50 a.m. KKNW, we always do our live shows on Saturday from 4 to 5 p.m. And if you are catching this at another time, then you're getting a rebroadcast. And we welcome you to go visit techtimeradio.com to make sure you stay up on all the latest information. We are a weekly 1-hour talk show that talks about technology in a simple format without having to geek out. We highlight top technology news for the week, along with segments that bring different perspectives and highlighted topics. Today on the main segment, we're covering top technology news features. We have a feature on cell phone security, and we also talk about 6G. Have you heard about 6G yet, Mike?
All the time.
All the time, though, because we're still deploying 5G. But we're going to talk a little bit.
This is like Christmas.
What's that?
You know, we start seeing Christmas stuff in the stores in July.
It's
hey, let's set up a 5G network. Hey, let's talk about 6G.
Or we're going to talk about 6G. 6G is a little bit different than 5G because 6G is going to be built on the 5G hardware aspects. So we'll talk a little bit about that.
They're going to have smell-o-vision.
And then do you know what we have? We now have on YouTube, if you're watching our live stream, you can now do super chat. So during our stream, this is crazy because we have now made it over the threshold, so we can now monetize our articles and our information on YouTube. And so that enabled us to unlock the ability for people to do super chat. So if you are a YouTube fan and you have super chat stickers enabled, you can actually go to YouTube and put a posting up there with a super chat, and we'll read it on the air. So if you have something you want to do, and if you're a big YouTuber and understand how that works, if not, we will continue to explain it as we develop it and understand it ourselves. Again, you can always hashtag us, specifically today at TechTime Radio. Go on to Twitter and go hashtag TechTime Radio, because we have some interactive items we are going to be talking about, because we are going to be talking about Twitter specifically and President Trump no longer being able to tweet, plus many other things as we talk about.
That's got to hurt.
Now, we need to make sure we get to our first segment, which happens to our technology. But before that, we have to ask our questions. So here is our loaded question of the day, Mike.
Okay.
At a family reunion, what should you not talk about? A, politics, or B, religion?
Your cousins.
Your cousins. Okay, well, that's probably a great thing to do. So,
you know, it depends on whether or not you want to be there.
Okay.
If you want to be there, don't talk about either of them.
Okay, well, you got to choose one, A or B.
Oh, politics.
You're going to talk about politics?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Don't talk about.
Don't talk about politics.
No.
Talk about religion. You're okay to talk about religion in a family?
Yeah.
It's probably the safer one right now.
I would say that at a family reunion, religion is probably a safer topic.
I think
now.
I think you'd be right. I think.
Don't talk about politics right now, unless you don't want to be there.
Okay, well, we're going to be
the quickest way to get done with that.
And we are not a political show, but we have a lot of items that we are going to be talking about today that are going to be heartbreak and excitement for many different people.
Let's talk about that.
All right. So before we do that, we are going to start off with our top stories in the first 5 minutes. This segment covers all the top technology news, and we make sure we start it in the first 5 minutes of the show.
What's happening in the world of technology? This is our top stories in the first 5 minutes.
All right, so we got underneath the 5 minute mark, so we're good to go. Story number 1, Twitter permanently banned President Donald Trump on Friday. Now, for people that don't know, we have a production meeting, so we have a great production meeting on Tuesday evenings, and we go through, and so we had all of our show completely written out, and it was a completely different show, and all of a sudden, Friday afternoon, I call Mike and say, guess what? Everything we were talking about is shifted to another episode because we have a lot of stories to talk about. Number 1 is our president has been banned from Twitter. Early Friday, more than 300 forever, permanently banned.
Permanently.
Early Friday morning, 300 Twitter employees signed into an internal petition calling for Donald Trump to be permanently banned from Twitter. And so then if you go and take a look at his account, after a close review of recent tweets from @RealDonaldTrump account, the context around them have been permanently suspended. The account is due to risk of further incitement of violence. Permanent suspension of @RealDonaldTrump and suspension of @RealDonaldTrump continue to happen.
Yeah, because of what happened on Thursday.
And again, we're not going to get political, but if you would like to tell us how you feel at hashtag TechTime Radio, are you okay with Twitter banning President Trump from using their platform? All right, but now Facebook wanted to get into the picture. Still story number 1. On Thursday, Facebook put in an indefinite ban on Trump and said that it will last at least through Inauguration Day. Facebook CEO Mark Zuckerberg said the risks are simply too great to allow Donald Trump to continue to access he has used his platform to incite violence, insurrection against the Democratic elected government.
Mm-hmm.
That's story number 1.
How
Hashtag right
do you feel
now.
about that?
Hashtag TechTime Radio and let us know how you feel.
Tell me about
story number 2. We're going to get there. Story number 2. Google has unionized with 200 people Monday and has seen rapid growth within the company. So this is a big story for technology because this is the first technology union that's been established. I worked at Microsoft back in the 90s all the way to 2005, 2006 timeframe. There's many times people would come and say, hey, we want to unionize at Microsoft, and it never went anywhere.
No.
But Google has unionized. They had 200 people on Monday, and we're going to listen to this historical moment on some audio that we captured.
Silicon Valley isn't known as a hotbed for union activism, but more than 200 Google workers in the U.S. have formed a union. The union's elected leaders made the announcement Monday in an op-ed piece in the New York Times. They wrote, "This isn't the company we want to work for," adding that the Alphabet Workers Union aims to ensure that employees work at a fair wage without fear of abuse, retaliation, or discrimination. The union's formation comes 1 month after the U.S. labor regulator accused the Alphabet unit of unlawfully monitoring and questioning several workers who were then fired for protesting against the company's policies and trying to form a union.
All right. So we had people previously that have been fired from Google that tried to form a union. Now we have a union that's been established. It came out with 200 people on Monday. And during the time, midweek, it moved all the way up to 600 plus people that have joined the union.
They've been going through this process for a while now.
They have.
And that's, I don't know what this means. So it could be a bad thing. Could be a good thing.
I understand unions. I have a son that has worked as a part of a union. He works for Boeing. So Boeing has a union and totally understand why they have a union for his line of work. And then I've worked in the software industry and we've never had unions. And then my youngest son is kind of a tradesman. So he will have an opportunity. He's working for an independent company now, but he may be a part of a union also. So I am very mixed on the union area, just because when you have a union person involved, and you have a complaint against an employee, or an employee has a complaint against a manager, I really like the non-union process where they have an HR department that really only cares about the company, right? The HR department doesn't care about employee one or doesn't care about manager one. They care about what's best for the company. And I like that process in place because I think that produces normally the best result of what could happen. With a union, now employee one has a problem with boss. Employee one doesn't go to the HR department, doesn't go to the boss, but now they go to their union representation, and then that person has to engage the HR and the manager.
Yeah. So how do you think this is going to affect the tech industry? Because now that this has happened to Google, it's probably going to happen all across the board.
So I don't necessarily like it for tech companies. I'll say that tech companies are really good about giving rewards to people for being successful in what they do. And I think this could have maybe your higher performers who are normally in a non-unionized company rewarded better, and having it so that everybody is rewarded kind of the same across the board. And I still think your highest performers, as a manager that I've been in the technology area, should be paid the highest amount for being the higher performers.
Yeah. Okay. Well, I was thinking more along the lines of it's going to make it harder for these companies to innovate and pivot. That's true, because they're becoming bureaucratized. Yes.
So you don't like it either, then? Because I'm kind of against it on the technology companies. I'm not against unions. Let me just say that.
It's a very complicated issue.
Okay.
But the reason why the union exists is because the powers that be have some problems with reining in that power.
Yep.
So there needs to be something that reins in the powers that be to keep them from doing things that they're not supposed to. But at the end of the day, the business is out to make money. And in the tech industry, as we're going to be talking later, they're moving all across the board. They move faster than society can keep up.
That's correct.
All right. Maybe ultimately this is good for society. I don't know.
Yeah, I think unions are absolutely great, but I don't know for technology companies.
Yeah, I don't know. It's very complicated. It's a very complicated, and Google kind of brought this on themselves too.
They did. They were kind of saying, "Oh, if you guys really want to do this, take care of it." Currently, right now, they only have 2% of the Google company that are a part of this union, so it's small, and they don't get officially recognized in the labor industry
until it's 10% or
30%, until it's 30%. So they still have a ways to go to 30%. But if you went from 200 people to 600 in 4 to 5 days at a company, I'm sure once more people know that they can sign up for it, it's probably going to grow quickly.
Yeah, we'll talk a little bit about the Streisand effect later.
Okay, is that on the Mike's mesmerizing moment?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, that's fantastic.
We'll talk about how Google created this opportunity for themselves.
All right, story number 3: the Alphabet Workers Union. So when we just talked about it, they just formed. And now they decided that they were going to go right at it. Let me see. If we became a union, we want to make sure we get our power out there.
Who did they go after?
So the Alphabet Union on Thursday published a blistering open letter attacking YouTube executives for lackluster response to Donald Trump following the siege in the U.S. Capitol.
Yeah. So we got these three stories linked.
Yeah. So they all are together.
Twitter and Facebook said, "Bam, we're shutting you down, Donald."
Correct.
And YouTube was like, "Meh."
Yeah, and YouTube's a part of the big Alphabet network, but they have different people that are doing it. So essentially, the union at the Alphabet network decided to go after YouTube as a part of their company and say, "How can you do that?" The union criticized YouTube for only taking down one video from Donald Trump rather than banning his account outright. Google's new union has penned a searing open letter to YouTube executives calling for the platform to foster a more cooperative opponent's views than having pro-Trump rioters being able to post content.
They're trying to get the bandwagon going.
We're
getting all these tech companies banding together and deciding the fate of whatever.
They believe that it was a fascist moment against the United States, and we think that YouTube should no longer be having any key aspects or videos supporting our president.
Yeah.
Okay, that was story number 2. So we talked a little bit about unions. We talked a little bit about what we have here. Now we are going to go, and we're going to need to take a commercial break, and we're going to come back to this story because we're not done. We're not going to be able to go and protect yourself today. So I'm going to have to go to commercial break, and David, you're going to hang on when we come back because we are going to talk about specifically what freedom of speech is. And are these companies really isolating that from people? So we're going to go to commercial break.
Censorship.
I'm Nathan Mumm. welcome to TechTime Radio. We'll see you after the break.
Hello, Seattle. How would you like to have immediate and easy access to your live EKG and heart rate data? Your data right at your fingertips and with no need to hook up wires and leads or be strapped to a machine at the doctor's office. The new Pulse device from Vivomi continuously tracks your EKG and displays this data on your mobile phone. Have you ever wondered how your EKG and heart rate behaves when you're exercising at the gym, navigating the stressful demands of the workday, or just getting the kids ready for school or relaxing at home? The Pulse is a different kind of wearable, and you can experience this difference by going to www.vivomi.com and ordering your device today.
Hi, this is Lisa Downs, host of Reigniting You, the show that takes a positive, forward-looking approach to mid to late career transitions for Gen Xers and Boomers every Wednesday afternoon at 3 o'clock Pacific. Whether you're looking to stay in the traditional workforce, do your own thing, or retire or semi-retire, Reigniting You is your source for career transition advice, inspiration, and insight for what's next in your career and life. Join me Wednesdays at 3 o'clock to get re-energized, recharged, and reignited.
With Advil, you have power over pain, so the whole world looks different. The unbeatable strength of Advil.
What pain?
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm, and we are tasting our Whistle Pig. So I think, David, there we go. Perfect. I see the stream coming back up. Yep. All right. So we have Whistle Pig Old World. It's a 12-year-old, 95% rye distilled from the MGP distillery in Indiana. The juices are traveled to Whistle Pig Farm and distilled in Vermont's Champlain Valley with master distillery Dave Pickerley. And he's finished the rye whiskey in 3 different unique finishes, then marries the 3 distinct barrel finishes together. It's aged 12 years, $69, 86 proof. What was your first take on it?
I wanted bourbon.
You wanted bourbon? You're giving me a hard time about all this rye stuff,
yeah,
aren't you?
We've had nothing but rye on for like weeks.
I like rye.
I'm not a big rye guy.
Oh, well, you're going to be a big guy. So what do you think of the taste so far?
Actually, it's really good.
It is smooth, isn't it?
It's smooth, and it doesn't have as harsh of a bite as the one we had last week.
Yeah, the last week's Whistle Pig was just hard. It was just kind of, it was all right. I mean, some people love Whistle Pig, so I just offended them, but that's okay. Speaking of offending people, we're going to continue
let's
on
do
our
some more offending.
Yeah, on our first episode that we did, or our first area where the stories in our first 5 minutes of the show, we're continuing a little longer today because we're going to talk about freedom of speech. So, what is freedom of speech? The definition specifically out of our amendment is the right to express an opinion in public without censorship or restraint by the government, protected in the United States as a right under the First Amendment to the United States Constitution.
Okay, so are you suggesting that Twitter is engaging in censorship?
Well, let me just tell you, the Twitter sphere and the internet sphere and Facebook sphere, people were crazy.
Well, yeah, this is a huge thing, right?
This is a big deal. How can Twitter remove the president? How can there be no president allowed to tweet on a social media platform? That is against our rights as a country, a freedom of speech. We should be able to do whatever we do.
That freedom extends only to where things aren't becoming dangerous for other people.
That is.
And if he's inciting violence, regardless of how it looks, then that is not covered by the First Amendment. So Twitter is in their rights, but.
Well, let's talk about Twitter's a private company.
Yes, that was.
So let's talk about that.
Here.
So each media company has a terms of service rules, or what they call a EULA, which is an end user licensing agreement.
Right.
So when you purchase software or when you use a software platform, it is not open rights. These companies own the platform that you do. So let's take a look at Microsoft's end user license agreement. Every time you start a Microsoft Office program, such as Microsoft Office Word, the end user licensing agreement dialog box appears. If you have checked OK and I accept and no longer repeat this, you will not see it, but this still enables you to have the end user licensing agreement. The end user licensing agreement says that you can only use Microsoft Office programs as intended by their ideals. So if I decided I wanted to change Microsoft Excel to become something other than it wasn't, Microsoft, even though I've paid for it from them, their user acceptance agreement could remove my privileges of having that. So let's go talk about Facebook. Facebook doesn't use an EULA, but they use a terms of service. Facebook's term of service says, Facebook builds technologies and service that enables people to connect with each other, builds communities, and grows business. These terms govern our use of Facebook, Messenger, and other products featured in our apps and services. The Facebook products or products of Facebook are solely this expression that we have of terms of use. The provided are follows: account suspension or termination. If we want Facebook to be a place where people feel welcome and safe to express themselves and share their thoughts and ideas. If we determine that you have clear, serious, or repeated breaches of our terms of policies, including in particular our community standards, we may suspend or permanently disable access to your account.
Yeah.
We also suspend and disable accounts repeatedly infringing on other people's intellectual properties.
Right.
Then let's take a look at Twitter, the Twitter rules.
The point here is
what? The Twitter rules. Twitter purposely serves the public conversation for violence and does not include violence, harassment, or any other type of behavior discouraging people from expressing themselves. Now, what I found on the Twitter rules, I had never, until this show, I had never gone through all the rules.
Mm-hmm.
Twitter rules, it was really funny. I was going through. Twitter's got some odd things. So you can post nudity on Twitter as long as you have consent from both people.
Yeah.
And so as long as you put it in there, there's a lot of weird stuff that you can do on Twitter, but specifically in their terms of service, if they deem you to be of a concern to their platform for any reason, they can terminate your account.
Service can be denied to anyone at any time.
So let's talk about this. So really what the companies are doing when they decided to ban President Trump from using those platforms is they said that he is not welcome in their platform use any longer.
Right. As privately owned companies, they get to determine who they service. So
correct.
Therefore, it's not censorship.
It's not censorship.
It's saying you're not going to be my customer anymore. So this is the same argument that is going on with the mask wearing.
Yep.
You know, when people go into grocery stores, that's a privately owned place. They don't have. You're not being denied your rights. You're being denied participation in their rules, which they get to set. It's privately owned, so it is not.
It's not available.
Censorship.
Yeah. So for all the people that I have just tons of people, both on many different sides of political spectrums, all going, I'm going to quit Facebook. I'm going to quit Twitter. I'm going to do this.
Yeah,
so you know what?
Everybody does that when they get upset about stuff. They start losing their rational thinking ability. So because if it can happen to the president, it can happen to you. It can happen to me. And
it absolutely could. Well, and they could take off TechTime. It did happen to you, right? You said a couple profanities.
I was describing something and I got banned.
And he got banned.
Yeah. I was just trying to prove a point to somebody, and I wasn't being mean. But the
person didn't complain about it either. But they just have.
They never saw the comment
because it got deleted.
I got banned.
So, if you don't want to use Facebook, great. If you don't want to use Twitter, great. You know what? The people that have to announce it to 20,000 people that they don't want to use this anymore, and how dare they do blah 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 blah. Guess what? This is a consumer-based world. If you don't like that product that you have available to you, you don't have to use it. It's that simple. You don't have to use Facebook. You don't have to use Twitter.
Yeah, but this becomes a more complicated issue because these are now embedded in our social structure too. So now there's that consideration to take into account.
So if the president wants to have a press release, he can have a press release, have press come on to the White House, and they can broadcast it on any station that wants to cover that item, right?
Yeah.
And if one station wants to cover it and the majority of the people are interested in watching it, then guess what? It will be available to be used and people will see value of that. If you don't want to have information that you don't want to watch, or if you don't want to use Facebook or Twitter, guess what? There's 4 alternatives you can choose here. You can use Despero, which is a social online world that puts data back in your hands as they advertise. You can use Elo. You can use IEM, which is a startup based out of Berlin as an alternative, or Vero. You want to go all of those areas that I just gave you, those 4 companies, all have Facebook-like integration that you can use.
Facebook-like, but they're not big. They're not making the same reach that these companies. This is why this is so complicated an issue.
If I want
Facebook,
Nike,
Twitter, YouTube, these are so huge that everybody around the globe is using them to connect with each other, and then suddenly you get cut off.
Okay, well, what about MySpace? Let's talk about this a little bit, right? MySpace was MySpace was around. Yeah, well, it's still. I don't know. I deleted my account a long time ago.
I think I still have an account on MySpace. Maybe I should check out the commercial.
Somebody's pinging you a long time ago. And It's like a 5-year response. But
girlfriend.
But MySpace was around, and then guess what? Facebook decided to develop a better product, and so people decided to move from MySpace to Facebook.
Mm-hmm.
IRC chat was around. People decided to remove from IRC chat to go to Facebook Messenger and other chat solutions. So if you come up with a great product and you drive it to market and consumers want it, people will change.
Well,
so
that's
you don't have to be you don't have to be locked into these accounts.
No, you don't have to be locked into it. But that's why they keep getting hauled in front of Congress and stuff.
Yeah, you know what?
Because they're being accused of crushing these smaller companies that are threatening.
So this had to happen. I'm glad this happened.
Normal human behavior.
I'm glad this happened because this really, if you believe Twitter is your news source and you believe Facebook is your social news source and you can't get any information any other place, then you know what? You have some problems. I'm not going to say you should be shot in the head because if I say that, then I get in trouble from everybody. So I did not say that on the radio.
I did not.
To be shot in the head. No. So I didn't say that, but those are not the places. If you want to get your news, you can go to any website you want and you can get news that's available there. So absolutely, people hashtag right now TechTime Radio and tell us if you agree with Nathan or if you don't agree with Nathan. Our Twitter alternatives. You don't want to use Twitter? Here's 5 alternatives. Use Reddit. Have you ever seen Reddit? Reddit's phenomenal.
Reddit is super complicated.
It's not that complicated. It's a little bit more complicated than Twitter, yes.
That's right.
But it keeps the stuff in there, an open platform, and you can talk whatever you want. You can go on to the I love Donald Trump deal, or you can go on to the I hate Donald Trump deal, and you can do anything that you want in that area. You have Mastodon, you have Care2, you have Tumblr, and Soup.io, all alternatives to Twitter. If you want to go on there and have your tweets and still say your information, all of those are available to you. All right. Whew. Now we're going to get on to our, do we have a comment pop up in the webpage there?
Yeah, we did.
What did it say?
Section 230, public forum can't be both public forum and a publisher. Public, you can't pick the content. Publisher, you pick what you pick. Can't have both.
That's really good. We'll come back and talk about that. I know who actually posted that?
Mark,
what's his last name?
Marriott.
Good. I love Mark Marriott. What a great guy.
He said somebody's wrong, but I don't know if he means me or
no, he's going to mean me. Absolutely. I guarantee you he means me that it's wrong. So we'll talk about that because I know what he's going to talk about.
Okay.
Well, towards the end of the show. So fantastic. I love
thanks,
that.
Mark.
I love Mark. Mark's a good friend of mine. Mark, I've known Mark for like 15, 20 years. Okay. His kid's growing up. He got married.
That you're wrong.
He's got a nice wife. They got married on New Year's. They used to come over to our New Year's party, but since we had COVID, we didn't have it for any of that. So, Mark, we'll talk about that. All right. And now we are going to get into our segment that we should have gotten into about 15 minutes ago. But we are going off the rails because we love this. We are going to go to Protect Yourself Today.
Protect Yourself Today.
Protect Yourself is a 5-minute rundown of the weekly technology breaches or business compromises across the globe, but we're going to do it in a minute and a half.
Yeah,
we're behind. Yeah. All right, story number 1. Google pulls Parler from Play Store for fostering calls to violence, not for security concerns, in the first ever major application removal of a social media company not created overseas. So we did that with TikTok. Now all of a sudden, Google decided to go on out to Parler, which I think is a conservative site, decided to remove it from the Play Store.
I've seen some things that says it's ultra conservative, but I don't know if that's true or not.
I did not know.
I didn't look into it that much.
I did not either. Google has suspended Parler from the Play Store, but what Apple decided to do is said, you know what, we have some concerns regarding. So, gosh, I really like Apple and Microsoft now, and I just hate that I'm starting to like those are like the two companies I grew up in. I'm like, I didn't like this, I didn't like this. So what they did is Apple issued a warning to Parler and said if they do not respond immediately to take care of some of the items that are against their policies, that they would have to remove at a later time.
Power struggles.
Now, again, if you don't want to have a Google phone and you don't want to have an Apple phone, there are other phones with other operating systems that you can purchase out there. It's about 3% of the market, so it's not a huge market, but you can still buy other stuff out there if you're upset about this.
So your whole standing here is that, hey, screw it. There's technology for whatever you want, right?
Yeah. You know what? If you think
that's your whole thing.
Yeah, absolutely. My stance is very clear. Listen, read my lips, okay? No. So if
you're not going to be talking about broccoli, are you?
No.
Okay.
So if you are a technology company and you're a consumer of technology, there are opportunities out there for you to express all the rights and all the freedoms that you want. If that means that it's not a mainstay technology, then you need to find another technology and help it grow to become a mainstay. That is exactly how I'm going to put it.
Okay.
So am I clear?
Just so we know you don't like broccoli.
I kind of do like broccoli if it's nicely if it's cooked nicely. Okay, so FBI used tracking. Here's great. FBI used tracking of cell phone to find, is that Ghislaine Maxwell? I don't know how her name is pronounced. I butcher names. I think it's Ghislaine. Jeffrey Epstein's associate, Miss Maxwell, was tracked down by the FBI using data from her mobile phone on court documents. Miss Maxwell was arrested on the 2nd of July during a raid on her secluded mansion in New Hampshire. She was located using GPS data from a phone that had made calls to her lawyer, sister, and husband. Miss Maxwell has pleaded guilty to charges, not guilty to charges of trafficking minors.
Right. She was involved with the sex trafficking ring. She was supposedly his girlfriend and the madam of the ring. She was grooming young girls for this thing.
So here's the interesting thing, and how they actually got it is they used a technology called Stingray devices that sends out and receives signals from nearby phones, not her phone. But they opened
the Batman thing.
So they opened up other people's phones, and then were able to get tracking for that.
They used the Dark Knight thing on
So
her.
that's right. That is exactly. So the method is controversial, and it can gather information about phones by bystanders nearby. The question is, do these bystanders nearby, they didn't allow people to use
that's kind of in that kind of scary that if the FBI is looking for you, they can use my phone to track you.
So obviously the concerns are, this is what her attorney is saying, that phones are not intended to be targeted to used for locations, and using other people's phones without the presumption of having them on should not be considered a letter of law. So I think what they're actually trying to do here is they're trying to say that just because I have GPS turned on my phone and I have proximity on my phone, I am not allowing the government to use my phone to track where you are, Mike.
Right.
But if you want to come down to us, we're just going to be at pizza after the show.
Yeah, but we're already doing that kind of stuff with the COVID app, right? This is the same sort of stuff that the COVID app is doing.
Yeah, it's very interesting with the ability to track. But you know what? Airlines are deciding that they're not going to allow you to fly unless you have a clearance that you've gotten a vaccination. So then what do?
You drive.
That's your alternative. You drive, or you take a train like John Madden used to do around the country. You take a train. There's other areas, or you choose not to fly.
I mean, this stuff gets really complicated.
All right, well, we got lots more to talk about. This is a great show today. I had so much fun. I spent so much time on this. Sorry, Tracy, my poor wife. She hasn't seen me for a couple nights now doing all this. So, all right, we want to make sure now is a great time for you to go to TechTime Radio to enter our great contest today for a chance to win a bag of Story Coffee and the Pulse device from Vivomi.
I got my bag today.
Oh, it's so good. It is so good. And you know what? They are a women-owned coffee distribution area, and we are very excited about that. And they, A, make great coffee, B, are women-owned.
It's really good coffee.
And C, there's nothing better for the price that you can get, and they got a subscription service. So make sure you sign up for that. We are going to be back from our commercial break right after here. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. We look forward to seeing you in a little bit.
Hey, Mike.
Yeah, what's going on?
Have you heard of the Pop Culture Show?
I feel like I should say yes.
Of course, you absolutely should, Mike. If you've heard of the Pop Culture Show, it's the #1 podcast to listen to for pop culture news and interviews.
Oh, wait. Who are the hosts?
3 hosts, Barnes, Leslie, and Cubby. They have been friends for over 30 years, and they have incredible chemistry working together. They have huge accolades from Billboard and Rolling Stone.
Dang it. I need to know more.
The Pop Culture Show has many popular segments, including TV Talk. This is a solid roundup of what's good, bad, and coming and going on the tube. TV Talk is on every episode. Their guest rosters include some of the best in the podcast space. Everyone from WWE champ Goldberg to rock stars like Jewel and even Dr. Oz, plus many other great guests.
So it's like us, but only better.
Did you really say that out loud? Go and visit them at thepopcultureshow.com. Again, that is thepopcultureshow.com or anywhere you get your podcast. You should subscribe today.
Completely awesome.
You know what's awesome, Mike? Every Monday at 10 a.m. Eastern, the Pop Culture Show releases a new podcast, so make sure to subscribe to their show whenever you get your podcast or always at thepopcultureshow.com.
Hello, my name is Arthur, and my life's work is connecting people with coffee. Story Coffee is a small batch specialty coffee company that uses technology to connect people to each product resource, which allows farmers to unlock their economic freedom. Try our Medium Roast Founder Series coffee, which is an exotic bourbon variety that is smooth, fresh, and elegant at storycoffee.com. That's STORI coffee.com. Today you can get your first bag free when you subscribe at storycoffee.com with code TechTime. That's STORI coffee.com.
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm. We got Mike Gourday there. A little bit of our whiskey. We forgot to drink it during the break.
I didn't. I don't know what you were doing.
I was busy making sure. I'm looking at section 230 here, so my respond to Mark is all making sure that it's ready to go.
I was drinking whiskey, man.
Oh, that's really good. All right. Well, next thing we're going to get into our main segment, which is called our Technology Insider.
Welcome to Technology Insider. We get the information directly from the source.
All right, Mike, what is 6G? How fast will it be? And when is it coming?
I don't know.
You don't know?
I don't care.
What are you talking about? 6G is already being developed right now.
We're still on 4G. We're getting into 5G. Why was 6 afraid of 7?
Well, let me just tell you, 6G is going to make the difference. It's considered what people are calling the senses of generational
vision, isn't it?
Yeah, it's smell. We're going to talk. See, you already have the reading notes, so you're going to give a little bit away here. But right now, we're going to go to Brady Tomlinson, and he's going to explain to us exactly what 6G is.
Yes, 6G, or whatever it's eventually called, will replace 5G. However, just because we may not see 6G for 10 years, doesn't mean it's not being worked on right now. Both Samsung and LG have 6G research centers in South Korea. Huawei also reportedly started its 6G research. Everyone is already hopping on the 6G bandwagon, even the Donald. All these different governments and companies are starting to work on 6G. But can we tell yet who will have the fastest 6G? No.
All right, so 6G is already a generational headline.
I think we should talk about 9G.
For 9G? No, they're not working on 9G yet.
Yeah,
but they are working on 6G.
Is.
No, okay, so let's talk. What is 6G? So right now, people are still just getting their phones for 5G. And we got a vendor coming on up that we're going to be talking about, specifically highlighting in our show today. Specifically that there's really about 5G, and they sell 5G plans. And they sell plans for flip phones. So if you have one of the drug dealer old times deals, that little flip phone, you can still get a plan for that.
Why did you go to drug dealer?
Because
that's like the Star Trek phone or something.
Well, because don't you ever see any of the drug dealer? If you watch any Netflix true crime,
I know.
I am binging Netflix on all these documentaries, and all the criminals have these flip phones.
Yeah, we all had flip phones, buddy.
Oh, that's
all of us had flip phones at some point.
I had one too. I had a Motorola. Mine was the high end one. Okay, so however, the technology never stops, and we're going to talk about 5G now. Because when we talk about stuff, then it comes on out 3 days later, and I can keep on posting on Facebook. So if I say 6G is out now, then there's going to be a big article, and 2 days from now in the Washington Post, it'll be talking about 6G.
That's crazy.
All right. So we have a Greek researcher who's working intensively with a team in Northern Ireland towards developing an even more advanced wireless broadband network. Dr. Makahi Mato, who started an international career after earning his PhD at the University of Edinburgh in 2005, has a research position that he has taken in German Sweden, and now is working on processing at the Queen's University of Belfast. At the end of 2020, he was approved to receive 2 million euros in the form of highly prestigious European Research Council grant to take the next step of his research and transform the latest speculative economics into a wireless technology for commercial breakthroughs. 6G will be fast and important to recognize the difference between 6G and 5G. So let's talk about this because we're going to talk about the senses. So 6G, you remember when we had 4G came on out? So G stands for generation. And there was just I was watching the Chaser. It's a new ABC show. And they had one of the questions was, what does G stand for? And I just blurted it out like I was like an expert. And I got it before Ken Jennings did and everybody else did. And I was like, generation. And I got it.
You felt really good about yourself.
I did. I was like, for like that minute, I said, I'm the smartest man in the world. But 6G is essentially built on 5G technology. So we're deploying all the 5G endpoints to endpoints to do all the compression and speed up the networks. And 6G is going to be what, like 4G, and then all of a sudden he came out with LTE, right? So what's the difference between 4G and LTE? Essentially, LTE was built on the 4G network. So what they do is they do enhancements to speed up items to make it quicker, and 6G is going to take that compression rate and probably do 10x the speeds of that. So this is really going to make it into what people are considering to be the 5 senses of technology. They want to produce the ability to use this technology to look, feel, touch, and smell, and of course hear people on communications. Now, I
don't want to smell people when I talk to them.
I don't know how you do the smell. I don't know, or the touch. But maybe the look and the hear type of deal. Maybe
I don't know.
The C's already there. The C's already there because you can already see. But that's what they're working on right now. Let me just tell you.
Let's get to the teleporting.
Okay, well that is so they did talk about that too. Did you see that in the article? So they did talk. Their goal of 6G.
5G has become such this weird thing where aliens are involved and everything. I can't imagine what 6G is going to be about.
Okay, well, let's talk to a 5G expert. We're going to go right now, and we're going to go to our special guest that we have coming on in here, and this is from the company Wing. And a Wing essentially is a network for cell phones, kind of like the Mint Mobile. If you see Ryan Reynolds out there with the Mint Mobile stuff. This is an independent network that's built on the AT&T network itself. Wing is fairly a new company. It was started in 2017 by the 2 founders of Elite Daily, David Arabo and Jonathan Francis. Wing's sign-up process is unique by filling out an atypical web form. After completing that, a Wing agent will contact you by a text message. So you fill out a form online, then you get a text message from a Wing agent, and they tell you the hands-on process of how to make your phone work. Now, what's really nice about this is the EMI number. A lot of people want to know where you got that EMI number. And with Wing, all Wing asks you is
the EMI number.
The EMI number is the identifying number of the cell phone.
Okay.
So how did you get it?
So like my IP address for my computer.
Exactly. So if I steal a phone, then you can normally track it by the EMI number, and that's what the police do to do this.
That's not how Ghislaine got caught.
That's not the triangle of having cell phones, all those GPS
they were
signals.
using my EMI number to catch her.
No. So the EMI number, essentially, they just ask you where you got it from, and they say, okay, great, and we'll continue on. So that makes it really nice and easy, so you can use those flip phones. All right, they have a flip phone plan. Speaking of that, so I'm sure that they don't.
$20, right?
Yes, $20. It includes unlimited voice and SMS, 4G LTE services. They have a $55 plan, which is 5G services available, 40 gigabytes of data. And so we have on the show right now, we have our special guest, and we had a bunch of different guests that kind of popped in and popped out. So I believe it is Nanny is who we have actually speaking to us from Wing Technology. Let's see.
Hey, how's it going, guys? How are you?
Did I butcher your name there?
How that's all right. Nani. Yeah, correct.
Okay, Nani.
Yeah, don't worry about it. He butchers the U.S. language.
So I do. Good. You know that's just a default for our show program. So if I'm not butchering a name, then I must not be doing a good job. So tell us a little bit. We're specifically interested in Wing, and so I had not heard about Wing until about a month ago. And then we had some interactions with your guys' company. And tell us, what is the benefits of you versus an AT&T or a T-Mobile or somebody else, and kind of some of the plans that you guys have in place?
Yeah, absolutely. So just in short, WingTel is a mobile phone service provider, just a cheaper alternative to the big four, right? You know, just like Uber doesn't have to own all the cars they need to run their service, and Airbnb doesn't have to own the apartments to, provide their service. We essentially don't have to own all these towers across the U.S. to offer a service. We lease out the same towers that Verizon, AT&T, Sprint, T-Mobile use to provide that service. And because we're smaller, leaner company, we're able to provide cheaper alternative to these customers. And because we come from that digital millennial background, the majority of the company came from Elite Daily, which was an online publication that was sold to Daily Mail. We came on with the mentality of, we don't like working with our current carriers. How can we implement that and, offer a better, more streamlined alternative to, anybody that's looking for a cheaper phone bill? And we kind of implemented, anything from, that user experience to financially feasible, I think is a good indication of having people come onto the service without any questions.
Okay, and so to go to your website, it's wingalpha.com, correct?
Correct, wingalpha.com. If you go to that, you'll be able to see everything, any questions you have for our service.
And your network is built on the background. So I did a bunch of research. If we put anybody on our show, we want to make sure we do the research to make sure that they're great, and we don't want to give a thumbs up or thumbs down to anybody. Well, we'll give a thumbs down to whiskey that we don't like, but we want to give a thumbs up to everybody. So you guys are built on the AT&T backbone. Is that correct?
Correct.
So essentially what you guys do is you take the same towers that AT&T has across the nation at their high cost for service, and you are running across their same dark fiber, their same wireless carriers, and they're just selling it because they don't utilize the network to 100% utilization, and they sell it to you guys at presumably a discounted rate so that they get more people in there, and then you pass that saving on to the customer itself. Correct.
Exactly. We're just in charge of pretty much managing those users and acquiring those users at that point. But yeah, that's exactly the case.
And you guys so let's say I have an iPhone 6 that was from T-Mobile, because that's what I have, an iPhone 6 from T-Mobile, and that may not necessarily work on your guys' system since it's AT&T. What would I do about that? Do I have to throw away that phone and go buy a new one so I can get on your network, or what do I do about that if I have a competitor's phone, but I want to switch over to your guys'?
Not necessarily. I'd say about a good percent. It's about 90+% phones are compatible with Wing in our service, so that wouldn't be the case. If there was a phone that was potentially locked and would need to be unlocked, it'd be we'd work with financing companies that would allow you to purchase a new phone at a very discounted rate and implement that within the plan. So we wouldn't have you throw away your phone and come on with new phone. You have the ability to bring on an existing phone, or if you'd like, we have alternatives to buy new phones and have it implemented into the bill.
Okay. So if so let's say I try to get a phone unlocked. Is that something that you guys do as a service to help out the customer, or do I have to call the phone company itself and try to get them to unlock that device?
We have agents that specialize trying to help out unlock a phone, and if that means working closely hand in hand with the customer, we have agents to support that throughout the process.
See, that was kind of a softball question because I already did that research there. So I already kind of knew that.
And just to be clear, we have all networks.
Uh-oh.
Do we lose our interview guest?
It looks like he froze up.
Is it, I hope that he was probably on his internet at home. So okay, well, that is all the information that we have specifically regarding Wing. So let me tell you a little bit more because I did a bunch of research. So they are, again, a wholesaler solution to purchase phones just like a Mint Mobile or any of these other ones. They are a newer startup company itself. They specialize in having phones that are available to be unlocked and to specifically work on their network on the AT&T background. What he's going to say is that all phones can work because they can work with the carriers themselves, even a T-Mobile phone, to unlock it into having an international plan that allows them to then have access to that. So that was a great interview. Hopefully you guys learned a little bit about Wing Alpha, which would be fantastic for you guys to take a look at. Again, that's wingalpha.com. All right, we are going to go to a commercial break. And when we come back, we still have Mike's mesmerizing moment. And we got our times fly by, man. They just go quickly. So let's take a commercial break here, David. Thank you very much. And we will see all of our fans. This is a great time to go to techtimeradio.com. Sign up for some gifts that you can earn from Story Coffee and from Vivomi. and also get ready for Mike's mesmerizing moment.
Your business deserves the same expertise as that of a Fortune 500 company. If you need a CIO-level service, why hire a full-time staff member at $250,000 a year when you can get this on-demand service for fractions of the cost? As your CIO on demand will give you the steps you need to take so as to minimize interruption to your business and profitability, and provide you and your business with training and education to prevent future attacks. To get an efficiency review for your business today, contact us at www.ee-services.com.
Sunday Night Football takes a team. Hey, guys, I need you to dazzle me a little bit here today, all right? It's the people that help us prepare the broadcast.
RPO, they're the defense's worst nightmare.
I'm stealing that for sure. It's the players and coaches.
Flesh, this is the matchup that we want. I need to get my hands on his guard and then create some separation.
And it's the fans at home hanging on every play. And every Sunday night, Microsoft Teams brings us all together. That was unbelievable. We have a show for you tonight.
Welcome back to TechTime Radio. I'm your host, Nathan Mumm, and we are getting ready for Mike's mesmerizing moment.
So you gotta tell me how we were talking about 6G and 5G, and then we brought on this guy.
The Wing Alpha?
Yeah, the Wing Alpha guy.
How do they tie together?
How do they tie together?
So Wing Alpha specifically is spending time working on deploying the 5G network with T-Mobile. So instead of spending a lot of time on the legacy items, all of their plans that they have, every single one of them, besides the flip phone that says 4G, are all 5G enabled immediately. So where you may have to wait from an older carrier on an older phone and they want to sell you a new carrier phone, they will work to make sure that you are getting the fastest network, which is the 5G network available through their offering. So when they're leasing the lines from AT&T, they're leasing the high-end 5G lines for their customers.
All right.
Does that make more sense?
Yeah, sure.
Okay.
Why not?
So you just want more 6G? All right.
No.
So we are going to go right now. This is the best part of the day because we're going to go to Mike's mesmerizing moment.
Woo!
This is Mike's mesmerizing moment, presented by Story Coffee. Visit storycoffee.com.
Yeah, so we were talking about Google and their unionization. This has been a process for over a year where this has been happening. And it's funny because this happens almost every time. They call it the Streisand effect, but I call it the polarization effect.
Okay.
And what it is you have a group dynamic that you have the people in charge, and then at the bottom end of that spectrum, you have the people who are kind of rebels.
Okay.
So what happens is these small groups start to fight each other. And in this case, they were trying to unionize because of unfair practices of the people in charge.
Okay.
And they started doing this stuff, and then the people in charge do what they always do,
which is
they start trying to suppress information. They start trying to control what goes out.
Okay.
And when they do that, it actually works against them.
Okay.
Because the minute they start trying to suppress the information or suppress the people that are trying to bring that information in, it gets out and that group grows.
Okay.
And as that group grows, the rebellion happens, basically. And then this is how Google created the avenues for unionization, is by trying to suppress the union in the first place.
Okay.
And that you can look at all through history, and you can see that this is one of the reasons why kingdoms, empires, and everything else falls after a time, because of the suppression of the rule breakers.
All right. Okay. So you're saying that are we coming to a time we're going to be disappearing? Is that what you're saying?
Everything has a life cycle.
It does.
So, yeah. We will eventually
ask Blockbuster how that goes. Huh?
Yeah, ask Blockbuster. The Roman Empire was only 500 years old.
And it was the biggest at the time, and then it disappeared.
Yeah, so we're halfway there.
Okay, you know what? That's exciting. That's a great way to end our show. Now we're going to talk about our whiskey Whistle Pig. Thumbs up or thumbs down?
I like it.
I give it a thumbs up. Mike gives it a thumbs up. We want to make sure that you have a chance to go and visit us on YouTube and Facebook, and maybe hashtag TechTime Radio. Now, Mark Marriott, who wants to talk about Section 230, introduced by Senator Ron W.D. out of Oregon, a former Republican out of California. Guess what? We're going to talk about that on our next show. I don't have enough time to talk about it today, Mark, but I will guarantee you to talk about that so we can continue the conversation. All right, I am Nathan Mumm, and I had a great time with today's episode. We had a lot of new stuff that we talked about. We got Mike Roday over there.
That's me.
All right, everybody enjoy your day, and we hope to see you guys next week on TechTime Radio. Goodbye.
Bye-bye.
Thanks for joining us on TechTime Radio. We hope that you had a chance to have that moment today in technology. The fun doesn't stop there. We recommend that you go to techtimeradio.com and join our fan list for the most important aspect of staying connected and winning some really great monthly prizes. We also have a few other ways to stay connected, including subscribing to our podcast on any podcast service, from Apple to Google and everything in between. We're also on YouTube, so check us out on youtube.com/TechTimeRadio, all one word. We hope you enjoyed the show as much as we did making it for you. From all of us at TechTime Radio, remember, Mumm's the word. Have a safe and fantastic week.
The views expressed on this program are those